Imagine a world where death isn't just an ominous shadow lurking in the distance, it's practically sharing your bed, like an unwelcome but inevitable roommate. That's the haunting reality captured in Frida Kahlo's masterpiece, El Sueño, which just shattered records at auction, selling for a staggering $54.7 million and earning the title of the most expensive Latin American artwork ever sold. But here's where it gets controversial. Is this painting really a surrealist nightmare, or something far more personal and culturally rooted? And this is the part most people miss, how Kahlo's own life of pain and resilience transforms a simple self-portrait into a profound commentary on existence itself. Let's dive in and unpack it all, step by step, so even if you're new to art history, you'll feel right at home joining the conversation. Frida Kahlo's 1940 self-portrait, known as El Sueño, or La Cama, which translates to the dream or the bed, made headlines when it fetched that eye-watering price at Sotheby's, New York. It's not just any sale, this sets a new benchmark, becoming the highest-priced piece by any female artist in auction history. The artwork stood out as the jewel in a curated collection called Surrealist Treasures, but as we'll explore, labeling it purely surrealist might be selling it short. At first glance, the canvas, measuring 74 by 98 centimeters, depicts what seems like a quintessential surrealist scene, a skeleton creeping up on a slumbering woman. Yet, Kahlo's genius lies in layering deeper meanings that go way beyond the shock value of the bizarre. Picture this: a grand four-poster bed drifts through a hazy, cloudy sky, its perspective tilted in a way that's downright unsettling, as if you're peering up from below. The top half of the painting feels light and ethereal, with the skeleton's elbow brushing the canvas's upper edge, hinting at an upward ascent into the heavens. In contrast, the lower section, where Kahlo herself rests, carries a heavier, more grounded weight, shrouded in a more menacing cloudscape with earthy tones that evoke a sense of foreboding. It's like the painting is pulling you into two worlds, one airy and liberating, the other dense and inescapable. Kahlo appears asleep beneath a blanket adorned with a thorny, flowerless rose motif, reminiscent of vines that spill out, encircling her head and sprouting roots at her feet. This subtle imagery ties her body to the natural cycles of growth and decay, much like the plant life depicted, a theme you'll see echoed in many of her other works, where nature symbolizes life's relentless rhythm. The two central figures, representing death and life, are mirrored in a way that's both symmetrical and symbolic. Both heads face the same direction, each propped on two pillows. The skeleton, wired with explosives that mimic twisting stems and roots, clutches a bouquet of flowers in its left hand, almost like a romantic gesture from a persistent admirer. But here's the twist that adds controversy: could this be interpreted as death not as an enemy, but as a seductive escape, blurring the lines between threat and temptation? It's a bold take that might make you question whether Kahlo is flirting with danger or embracing it. And this is the part most people miss: the skeleton isn't some whimsy of imagination, it's drawn from a tangible piece in Kahlo's life, a Judas figure, a colorful papier-mâché effigy that was part of her personal collection. In Mexican culture, these figures embody evil and are traditionally burned or exploded on Holy Saturday, just before Easter, in a fiery ritual symbolizing victory over wickedness. With a burst of sparks and a grand finale boom, it's a spectacle of destruction. This Judas also nods to the calaca, those playful skeletons from Mexico's Day of the Dead celebrations, where death is honored rather than feared. Intriguingly, in the painting, this figure perches on the canopy of Kahlo's antique four-poster bed, mirroring how it was actually displayed in her home. Death, in this setup, isn't a distant specter, it's a roommate, ever-present and almost domestic. The overall composition echoes historical art forms, like the double-decker tombs from late medieval Europe, where the living body rests above and the skeleton or decomposing form below. But Kahlo flips this on its head. Here, death seems to ascend, moving from earth to foliage to blossoms to sky, as if fleeing the mundane. Plus, the bed's grid-like structure recalls a Mexican retablo, or miracle painting, which often illustrates stories of divine intervention and recovery, dedicated to saints who save the day. Kahlo cleverly adapts this format, swapping the saint for the Judas figure, bridging her physical reality to a realm of cultural symbols and traditions. It's a creative mashup that invites debate. Is she subverting religious iconography, or is she simply blending her world into something uniquely her own? This interplay of art and mortality ties deeply into Kahlo's own story. Her life, tragically cut short at 47 in 1954, was marked by profound trauma and physical suffering. At 6 years old, she battled polio, which left her with a weakened leg. Then, at 18, a horrific bus accident impaled her with an iron bar, shattering her spine, damaging organs, and leading to over 30 surgeries throughout her years. Yet, out of this pain emerged her artistic voice, bedridden in a plaster corset that made her body as rigid as the skeleton in her painting. She picked up a brush and began creating. For beginners, think of it as turning personal agony into powerful expression. Her art wasn't abstract fantasy, it was raw, lived experience. Beyond the physical toll, her marriage to famed muralist Diego Rivera was a roller coaster of emotional turbulence. Multiple miscarriages added heartache, and there was a painful separation after she learned of his affair with her sister, Cristina. The bed, a frequent symbol in her oeuvre, wasn't just furniture, it represented spaces of healing and hurt, both physically and mentally. Kahlo's work dives into her extraordinary pains, but unlike the surrealists who played with dreams and subconscious whims, her pieces stem from real-life events that push beyond what most people can endure. In El Sueño, the Judas figure embodies impending suffering, a doppelganger, a companion, even a promise of release. She's dozing, but he's vigilant. A controversial lens might see this as embracing death as a kind of liberation, challenging our usual fear of the end. What do you think? Does portraying death as a potential ally make Kahlo a radical visionary, or does it cross into uncomfortable territory? This background sets Kahlo's art apart from European surrealism. She had a rocky rapport with the movement. André Breton, its leading figure, once praised her work as a ribbon around a bomb, highlighting its explosive intensity. Yet, Kahlo saw through their facade. In a blistering 1939 letter to photographer Nicolas Mâché, she vented, "I would rather sit on the floor in the market of Toluca and sell tortillas, than have anything to do with those artistic bitches of Paris. They live as parasites of the bunch of rich bitches who admire their genius of artists. Shit and only shit is what they are." Later, she reflected more calmly, "They thought I was a surrealist, but I wasn't. I never painted dreams. I painted my own reality." Her art, fusing stark realism with Mexican myths and symbols, is perhaps best called the marvelous real, grounded in her cultural heritage and personal pain, not invented fantasies. But here's where it gets controversial. By distancing herself from surrealism, is Kahlo rejecting a label that could have elevated her globally, or is she rightfully claiming her unique voice in a male-dominated field? And this is the part most people miss, the way her work challenges viewers to confront mortality not as horror, but as an intimate part of life, much like the traditions she drew from. To illustrate, imagine how Day of the Dead altars, with their candy skulls and marigolds, turn death into celebration. Kahlo does something similar, inviting us to rethink our relationship with the inevitable. Intrigued by art that blends the personal with the profound? Cut through the clutter with our bi-weekly newsletter featuring hand-picked highlights from new releases, live events, and exhibitions, delivered straight to your inbox every Friday. Sign up here to stay inspired. What are your thoughts? Do you agree that Kahlo's El Sueño transcends surrealism by weaving in cultural depth, or do you see it as just another spooky painting? Is portraying death as a roommate empowering or eerie to you? Share your opinions in the comments, let's discuss.